Hello, everyone. Jeff Yergi on the Oyster Aero PearlCast, and today I'm joined with Todd Siena, Block Aero Technologies. Todd, how's it going?
Doing great. Happy to be here in Florida.
Yeah, how's summer going so far? The official start of summer happened a while back.
Yeah, bit hot. I'm here in Wellington, big equestrian community, so a lot of that kind of slowed down in the last month. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's still I still enjoy coming here. My family's here, and yeah, it's been a good time so far.
Good deal. Where do you live? Do you live in Wellington or?
So I'm based in Bangkok, Thailand.
Oh,
I set up when I set up Block Aero. We established our headquarters office there. So we have all of our developers, designers, and the management team like myself. We're primarily based in Bangkok, but we have also kind of a growing team here in the States. A little bit of a nucleus in Florida at this moment.
good deal. I think even though we're virtual, you've won farthest traveled on the Oyster Aero podcast. Furthest away from
It is
where
a
we
long
are.
trip. I took that Singapore Airlines flight on the way over last time. So from Bangkok to Singapore, and then I think it's the longest flight in the world, about 18
Wow.
hours.
Wow. All right, that's fun. All right, let's talk about Block Arrow. What are you guys doing? What are you trying to solve for? How's it going? All that good stuff.
Sure. Well, I started out also in the aviation industry. In my first job, it was in my family's parts distribution business. We had a here in Wellington, Florida, electromechanical consumables, expendables business where we would sell those to airlines, MROs all over the world. So that was also part of my job, and I went on from the distribution world to also kind of trading smaller assets. And as I kind of got 10, 15 years into my career, started realizing like it really is bad the way we manage and treat our data. And I've always kind of felt like there was something wrong with that. And so what happened was in 2016, I joined a kind of community called Entrepreneurs Organization, and it's like a peer group of entrepreneurs, and we were all kind of exploring crypto at the time in 2016, and it kind of planted the seed in my head is for this amazing revolutionary technology of blockchain, could that be a better way to potentially organize the same data that we look at in the aviation industry? And the reason why I was thinking it makes sense is because blockchain can be a identity linked, immutable, persistent database that in its nature is a bit more resilient, more reusable, more standardized across all the participants in the creation and network of that database. And so it made a lot of sense to me when I put those kind of concepts together. And so I launched Block Aero with that mission: is how can we help aviation asset managers be better by providing them with a chain of custody solution that helps them to standardize, to access, and endorse high quality aviation data.
That's really cool. I guess it's not denying the technology, but a lot of marketing firms will latch on to things, right? So you see
Mm-hmm.
some big marketplaces and they'll say, oh, we have AI and then we've have blockchain and all that. So the problem is, I think the technology is awesome. The words have been overused by marketeers, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
As far as providing, the actual service, if I'm interested in getting into blockchain, where do we start?
Right. So, with Block Arrow, to use blockchain, we do all the heavy lifting in terms of how the blockchain is deployed
Yep.
for aviation companies to use it as an application. So, in the terms of the experience with Block Arrow, you're going to use blockchain as if you were using any regular type of SaaS. Now, the way that it works in terms of you create what we call a digital asset, which is essentially a kind of ID and value of the asset on a network, and we enable the users to access that based on what their role is with that digital asset. So if you're an owner or you're an operator, you can have access to all of the airworthiness back to birth records that would be appended to that particular digital asset. And in a similar way, you can also create documents in kind of like a transactional workflow with those same assets, and we use the blockchain to make sure that there's like a shared source of truth, a shared record between those organizations that documents the status change of the asset or how the transaction proceeds.
Got it. So the myth that it had to start at the OEM isn't necessarily true. We can start I mean, that's the perfect world, right? Is that we start from the time a part's born, but we can add something to the blockchain. You can append all the traceability that you have, and then from that point forward, it's fully traceable.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So there's like a date that the block is created, and then there's the date that the record is referenced to. So the way we look at it is we see our assets move through moments in time where they're in a custody from somebody who's a trusted party in the aviation, probably because they have some kind of credential, like an ASA certificate or a Part 145 license, and then those users with their reputation and the credentials, they can state that an asset is at a certain status, a certain record, and that's how we look at like building data into our blockchain.
Interesting. Who do you find, if you look at the supply chain from manufacturer all the way to operator and everybody in between, who do you find is probably like what category of customer types are speaking with you most today? What'd you say?
I think a lot of it is driven by the use cases that our platform has been able to address through like using blockchain to create a end-to-end solution. So we have a couple of solutions which have been more focused on the MRO and the aftermarket. That is indeed where I think a lot of people look at blockchain and the potential pain points it can solve, and they say, hey, if I had this asset in the aftermarket, I want to recover the trace data. Yeah, I'd love to have it on a blockchain. So it's natural for people to feel the pain point and look for a solution at that area. I would say the OEMs have also, since blockchain kind of took the world by storm, they've also all done their own kind of initiatives or projects in an exploratory way to test out the technology. Some of those we participated in, some of them we didn't. And I do think OEMs is a very good place to start. But at the same time, there's other reasons why OEMs or certain players may not be the best one to manage the blockchain for everybody else.
Sure. So the big coalition that was launched on false parts because of the big scandal that's happened recently, or not so recently, but as far as just part traceability and making sure you're getting real parts, I mean, is that I'm sure that plays into maybe the urgency a little bit more. How do you manage to get Block Aero involved in that process?
Well, for us, and I believe you're referring to the Aviation Supply Chain Integrity Coalition, launched in the wake of AOG Technics and other issues that were going on for quality in the supply chain. And fortunately, I was definitely following the kind of committee that was putting together the report as they did it. They did reference blockchain and a few other things that are definitely covered by us. For example, the unique IDs, as well as managing accredited vendor lists. So indeed, that coalition was nice to have more authoritative figures talking about the problem and then mentioning blockchain. The way we would involve in that is more through like the ASA AFRAs of the world, who we also have partnerships with, and they I think are the best voice to speak to those kind of groups and with us, as a technical support.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. So you're really the rollout is I don't want to say aligning closely, but ASA certainly would be the best known standard for suppliers. So um, that's really interesting. Well,
It
good.
is.
How's it going since you've launched? When did you launch the business?
We launched in the end of 2017. So
Okay.
the basically the company was formed then. By 2018 mid, we had pretty much got the co-founders and founding team together. Uh, then through those first few years, the company really was faced with the R&D task because we built a platform not on traditional technology that is quite fast and easy to build on, but we were doing something fully new and hadn't been done before. So there were a lot of lessons to learn. We started, for example, on Ethereum as a
Mm-hmm.
blockchain kind of framework. In the early days, we then moved that into what's called Hyperledger Fabric. It's a different type of one. The previous one was kind of more geared to cryptocurrencies, whereas ours was kind of more geared towards data and high speed. And so we spent those first couple of years doing like POCs, small scale projects with some pretty reputable brands. So like, for example, Singapore Airlines, Rolls-Royce, Etihad, Sanad. These players were all exploring blockchain just like we were at the time, and we kind of went through them to kind of look at where some of the initial use cases may be. Our biggest breakthrough came in 22 when we went live with a subsidiary of JAL called JALux. So
Yep.
they really kicked off a lot of our, and still to this day, push a lot of demand and kind of transactions through our platform. So they work together, essentially doing repair management type of transactions for their heavy industries, Japanese companies and airlines. And so through the partnership with them, we've onboarded over a couple of 100,000 assets at this point, supporting thousands of transactions. And so that was a great big kind of first, brand name to win. They also made a small investment in Block Aero for our equity. And I think the next big kind of development for Block Aero was when we launched our registry as a service solution. So we have on top of the blockchain network itself, the platform has like MRO manager for our Japanese customers and others. We have also a product called Registry Manager. And what Registry Manager does is it allows kind of anybody who's managing a consortium or managing an ecosystem to define a kind of standard set of data and to enable a standardized request using the digital assets or just bringing it on for the first time into Block Aero. And then this is really where I think we're making a lot of breakthroughs. We've finally opened up our platform to be accessible for companies that are not necessarily yet a customer of Block Aero. And we basically have a kind of free portal for people to do queries to validate the status of a given asset that you're looking for. What was the record that is available on Block Aero?
Interesting. Okay, so you can look up maybe like the last inventory or repair paying on the blockchain, basically.
Yeah, you could search the blockchain for like, if I know the identity of an asset by part or serial number, I want to submit that query. What results do you have for me on a given registry? So the first registry we did was really about remove parts and solving a traceability problem for the aftermarket in terms of teardown materials that are specifically flowing from the US, the EU, or anywhere overseas into the China market. Because
Mm-hmm.
China, their regulator has some specific higher, you could say, or more difficult requirements. And as they are getting into USM, which is a new thing for them still, they are looking to kind of have a strong oversight and control on what exactly is coming into the market.
Sure. Wow, that's really interesting. Well, I know that this is way quick. I mean, we try to keep these at about 15 minutes or so.
Sure.
But I wanted to at least meet you and let everybody else kind of hear what's going on. And so, we'll work more on maybe how to help you kind of get out there. But I mean, beyond what you've already done is incredible, especially with Jaluk. So,
Mhm.
great to have you on today, Todd.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.